Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday morning Joe and Joe Weather Show. I'm Joe Chaffee. Joe Rayo will pop up on the screen momentarily. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number there, and they have plenty of rock salt and the lowest prices anywhere in the New York City tri-state area and beyond for not just rock salt, which they have plenty of, but all the great snow and ice melt products like Pelledo and Mag ice pellets and flakes, snow blowers, shovels, spreaders, you name it. They got it at Omni True Value Hardware. So give them a call or go to the website, omnitruevalue.com. Wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Whether you are having your home decorated for the holidays professionally or you're a professional holiday home decorator, they've got plenty of items in stock. So if you need anything, wreaths, garland, lights, give them a call. They are operating under extended hours right now, and they are open today. They're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, 631-957-5106. And here's just a quick sampling of some of the things that you could be having on your front lawn, and that includes that nasty old elf on a shelf. The website is liholidaylighting.com. So, Mr. Rayo, I'm wearing a new cologne today. It's called Or de Vix, or as the wacky packages used to call it, Yix. I am actually, for the first time in well over a week, I'm feeling better today. I'm feeling alive. So I'm actually going to go get a rapid COVID test this afternoon just in case. But it really does, it does feel like a head cold. I mean, it was hanging over me for the better part of a week, and it just wouldn't, come out. I could just feel it.
Right.
It wouldn't come out. And then finally, on Friday night, it did, and it played through yesterday and last night. But I went the Vicks route and co-Tylenol and took a little bit of melatonin so that I actually got a really good night's sleep. And I woke up this morning feeling a whole lot better. Still a little nasally, but I'm not dripping anymore. So that's all good. By the way, I haven't been really paying attention since Friday, but are they still talking about, major storms this week for across the country? Because I have to tell you, I looked really carefully, I really looked very, very carefully, and I don't know, maybe tell me if I'm missing something. I really don't see anything anywhere. Am I wrong here?
I have to tell you, Joe, I haven't really had a chance to concentrate on any news programs since Friday. Actually, so many things have been happening here at Rancho Rayo. We have been trying to get our Christmas decorations up in advance of our trip, and have been in many cases unsuccessful because of lights that have burned out, lights that will not work, lights that simply will not do what you expect them to do. Last night, I had to trudge on out to the middle of my front lawn because Santa was not lighting up. And I had to get the screwdriver and get the teeny tiny little Phillips screws. One of them fell into the grass.
Naturally.
So I had to go back to the house, get a flashlight, and then search in the darkness for a teeny tiny little screw in the grass so that I could take the back of Santa off, pull out the bulb. Clearly the filament was burned out. Go back, get another bulb, put it in, and I said to myself, at one point I was like on my knees in the grass, in the dark, with a flashlight, and I'm saying to myself, what the hell am I doing here? What am I doing?
Well,
oh dear,
I hear you.
It's never going to end.
This is of course where wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini would be helpful, because they're your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs, and you would not have these issues. if you use them. So that was
Well,
just a way to give
if
them a little extra plug today. So,
with all due respect to our good friends over at Giannini, if you're alluding to the fact to bring somebody to the house and put the decorations up and fix them for us, the executive producer would not have any of that.
oh no,
None of
certainly
that.
not. No, no,
No.
she'd be waiting at the front door with the chainsaw.
Yeah. No, I need you. If I always need a laugh in the morning, and I was far from that this morning.
You could always come to me. Me and my sixth sense, my very sick sense of humor.
Yes.
I will say, just going back to
What you were saying about the
right
impending major storms coming.
Friday night, Friday evening on the CBS Evening Snooze with Nora O'Donnell. They led with first. There's the pre-open tease, where they just bang out 5 seconds of their top stories. Anyway, pre-open tease. They run major storms to be hitting the U.S. during Thanksgiving week, and they run the RPM model in the back, as the graphic. And I'm looking at this, and the RPM model had like this little blob of precip in southern Michigan, a little blob of precip in Lake Huron, a little blob of precip north of Sault Ste. Marie, and then moving east because that's cold front that's coming through for tonight. There was nothing. I mean, graphically, there was nothing, and of course, it was their opening lead story. Listen, I'm going to say something that might sound a little extreme, but um, I thought about this. The news media is basically a criminal organization. They really are. They spend their time trying to disrupt lives as best they can. And as soon as they get bored with one thing, they move on to another. And I mean, look, you want to argue that maybe a week ago today, when you were sitting and looking at some of the stuff and saying, well, you know what, maybe this looks kind of interesting, and maybe this could be problematic. But it certainly became very clear by the middle of next week, middle of this past week, that it was not going to be the case. So, but it's just to continue on and on with that is just so irresponsible. I mean, can you imagine how many people change their travel plans thinking that well, we can't travel Sunday and Monday because the weather's going to be crap, is going to be horrible. You know, I give up. I mean, I gave up a long time ago. But really, it's criminal what they do.
Well, as you well are aware, the two of us having been in the business for many, many years, the old saying, "If it bleeds, it leads."
Yeah, but you know what? But there was
sometimes when it doesn't bleed, then you say, and in that case, when it's not bleeding and you don't, have anything major to talk about, I've known many an executive producer or a news director who, called out, "Get me the knife."
Yeah, no, I understand that. But you know what? At least during the time that I worked, I was always at least asked, do we need to lead with this? Or if I thought they needed to lead with it, I would go in ahead of time and say, look, maybe might want to push this up in your story, in your where you're stacking your stories in the first section,
right?
Because this really does look important. But it's really gone beyond
once
that.
We had a mutual associate of ours, Rob Eisenson, who is now teaching atmospheric science at Western Connecticut College in Connecticut. He once blew a gasket because there was some impending storm that was coming, and he worked through the afternoon, and he had come to the conclusion that the storm was only going to give the Hudson Valley. This is what he used to work on News 12 Westchester on weekends. And he had come to the conclusion that the ballyhooed storm, was going to pass mostly to our south, just graze us with a little snow. That's not going to be a big problem. But again, for the days leading up to that day, it looked like we were in for a major storm. what happened? We led off that night with the major storm, and one of the reporters in her news package said, and we could be expecting as much as a foot of snow before this night is over. Rob saw that, went absolutely ballistic. I'm surprised that they didn't pull him and drag him off to to Bellevue, because he was just going absolutely crazy. How could you do that? Why are you saying that? No one asked me. We're not going for that. We're not. And you know, oh my God. But he was
Yeah.
right. He had every reason to be upset, because
Sure.
the reporter didn't even have the courtesy to call and ask our weather expert what he thought was going on. She just arbitrarily went with the flow and arbitrarily went with what she thought the weather service was going for. And it just made, and it looked even stupider when they threw it to Rob to do his forecast. He said, well, you know, we've been calling for a big storm, but now it looks to me the latest NGM, that was what we were using back then, shows the storm's going to south. And then, Joe, I understand. I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
Yeah,
As to what you're talking about.
I always try to make sure, reporters to, if they were going to do say anything weather wise in their stories, to run it by me first, just to make sure it was consistent with what I was saying, and it got to over the recent years, it got to be somewhat problematic, because they just wouldn't do that. So anyway, enough.
Harvey Leonard, who is now legendary. If any of you are in southern New England, especially in the Boston area, and Harvey is still there. He's been doing the weather now, I think, on WHDH in Boston for like the better part of the last 30 or 40 years. And at an AMS conference one year, he told a story about how there's a big storm heading this way. It could dump a lot of snow, but also in advance, it was very cold. It was like in Boston by the 11 o'clock news, it was something like 5 or 8 degrees above zero. And the executive producer of the show, the 11 o'clock show, told Harvey, we want to take you out to wherever, someplace outside of Boston, and we want you to stand out there and do a report live in the cold and telling us about the big storm. And Harvey said, if you do that, then the new model guidance, which will be coming out at 11 o'clock, and I'll be able to get a look at it and be able to get a handle as to what exactly we're going to see in terms of snow, is going to say whether or not we're still going for heavy snow, whether or not we're not. So I wouldn't have access to that if you send me out. So I would say, please don't send me out. I would do a better service to our viewers if I stayed in here in the weather office and told everybody. And the executive producer just like said, I'm sorry, you're going out tonight. I want to see you freeze your face off while we're doing the top of the news. I mean, that again is the idea of,
and that, by the way, so everybody's clear. This is in a time when you didn't have a smartphone, so it's not like he could have pulled it up. Now he's got a smartphone. Now of course you could just be wherever you are. You could pull the foose down and take a look at it, anywhere. But yeah, anyhow, I just thought I'd bring it up because it was bugging me since Friday. So anyway, why don't we just take a look at what's going on, or what is not going on on the satellite loop? We're seeing, well, it looks like a little warm front is pushed on through, because there's clouds in eastern New England down to about New York City and New Jersey. Then there's like a big break in between the clouds with the cold front that's in western New York and western PA moving eastward. So some areas, they're probably going to should warm up fairly nicely once the sun comes out, if it hasn't come out where you are, but then it's going to go away, and then we're going to get into some showers. But it does look to me, Joe, like tonight's rain into tomorrow morning, 1/4 of an inch, maybe less.
Yeah, I would say that it's not a major, amount of precipitation. It looks like the bulk of this is going to come well after sundown. So if you're doing something like, I'm sure the Gianninis would like you to do, go outside and set up your Christmas decorations. Boy, I tell you, Joe, this was the week. I know it's not even Thanksgiving yet, but I would much prefer to do it in the kind of weather we've had this week, as opposed to waiting until like a couple of weeks before Christmas, when it's probably going to be a lot colder and there's probably going to be wind chills sub-freezing. It has been absolutely spectacular. I mean, look, we had Thursday, we had near 70-degree temperatures, and even today, not 70, obviously, but probably low 50s. Not as much wind, certainly, as what we had, let's say, on Friday. So it looks great. And again, I agree with you. It doesn't look like a whole heck of a lot of precipitation is coming our way. It'll be our way for tonight and into the early part of tomorrow.
Right. And the front that's going to come through later Thursday night into Friday is going to be very similar to what we're getting now. And there are cold air masses behind each front, and there too, a quarter. To me, it looks like a quarter of an inch, maybe less. And by the way, just looking at the watches and warnings across the U.S., there are a handful of counties in South Texas away from the coast where there's some flash flood watches up. There are a handful of counties on the Upper Peninsula of Michigan where there are winter weather advisories up. Other than that, and I'm thinking those are avalanche warnings that are up in parts of south central Washington there in the Cascades. Other than that, it's pretty quiet from coast to coast. I mean, in terms of anything major, you'd be seeing winter storm watches, winter storm warnings, flash flood watches, flash flood warnings, severe weather risks. You got nothing like that. Absolutely
Yes.
nothing. And here's the radar. Some very light showers. I don't even know how much of this is actually reaching the ground from coastal Maine down into southeastern New England. Then you've got a gap, and then you start to see some of the showers back in western PA and heading back into Indiana, southern Ohio, and back through Kentucky. These are the showers with the cold front. Again, nothing really, sort of a big yawn. And on the northern fringe of this, we're looking at some snow, a little scattered snows up in parts of Montana and northwestern Washington, and some rain in there too. Again, that also looks pretty light. And I mean, look at this snowfall forecast map for through Tuesday morning. Even even after the front goes by, there's going to be a little bit of lake effect going on, and we want to emphasize little. Basically, a coating to at most a couple of inches in some favored areas in western New York, and a little more active up in the upper peninsula of Michigan, where you've got 8 to 12. But that's up there. They get 200 inches a year or more in some places. And you'll see up in the northwestern part of the U.S., in the Cascades, some snows up in parts of Washington State, and then also a narrow band, but really here too, not amounting to very much. By the way, Denver, Joe, we've gotten so used to Denver in the past, in recent years, getting relatively early snowfalls. They have yet to see
Right.
their first measurable snowfall in Denver. The average date is something like October 21st for their first measurable snowfall. So they are a full month behind. So it's not just the northern areas of the Northeast and areas around the Great Lakes and so on. But it's a lot of spots around the country, and I think we can attribute it to the fact that we saw in October the absolute lack of snow cover that was over Canada. That has changed now, but that's had an impact on the lack of snowfall. What we're seeing, the impact being a lack of snowfall in the continental U.S. For going into the week before Thanksgiving, and also the fact that we've gotten these shots of cold air, but they haven't been anything extraordinary, and that's probably going to continue to be the case until the snow cover can get some time and build some cold air masses up there.
Right. Right. By the way, I have something that's going to make you very, very happy right now.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Wait, should I go full screen
Remember
here?
about? No, you don't have to. What I'm going to tell you is that a few months ago, after doing some searching, I found a site that provided excellent radar coverage, the RAP satellite
Yeah.
thing. And then after a while, all of a sudden, everything went kablooey, and all the radar images or the radar loops went away. And we thought that was it. It was gone forever.
Right.
Guess what?
It's back?
They fixed it. Yeah, they fixed it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
back. And so you can go back to that site. Now, the only thing that doesn't seem to work on that site is if you wanted to get a full view of the contiguous United States radar-wise. But if you for the moment at least, that's not working. But everything else, for example, New York City and DIX for Philadelphia, I guess that's what, Fort Dix.
Mm-hmm.
And any other place in the country that you want to show a radar loop, it works. It's fantastic.
I'm pulling it up now. Let's see, contiguous U.S. Yeah, the link is not working for that. You move your mouse over and it does. Yeah, but the other ones are all working. Oh,
yes,
yes, glory, hallelujah. Okay, that'll make life a little simpler.
So there you go.
No, see, there are positives every once in a while. Okay, so
now you may
go ahead.
you may wonder how I came across that and how I
Gee,
found
Joe,
it.
I'm wondering, how did you come across that?
Over the last week or two, because of this impending trek down to the bottom of the world, I was looking around and saying, what sites are there? Are there any sites I can use model guidance wise to tell me what it's going to be like down at the bottom of South America, the Drake Passage, Antarctica, for God's sake? And I have found a couple. I thought when we get a chance, not now, but I mean a little bit later in the show, you may be interested in one of the sites that will actually. I use either the GFS or the global Canadian model, which actually will show me, and I don't know how accurate it is, but will actually show me what the conditions are for a specific, not just for a broad area, a broad zone. I can pinpoint it. I can point my cursor and click a button and say, I want to know what it's going to be like here.
All right.
And it'll give me a whole slew of stuff based on the GFS or the GEM model, and that's what I'm going to be. One of the things I'm going to be relying on when I'm on that ship next week, when we try to figure out, is there any place that we might be able to go that might have clear weather for the eclipse, which is not likely, but still, it's nice to have some guidance to look at and to mull over in advance of the eclipse. And I'll show that to you a bit later.
All right. I turned on the share for you, so whenever you're ready, you can let me know. Just a couple of things before we go on with the weather maps. Mr. McGuire hitting the super chat tip jar. Thank you so much on this wonderful Sunday. It is most appreciated. And Tom Contino, we share something in common. I also drink Mexican Coke instead of regular Coca-Cola because it's made Coke the old-fashioned way when they actually had sugar in it instead of corn syrup. I've been doing that for years. It's the best. Goes back to when you and I were kids. Coca-Cola that's bottled in Mexico, they still use sugar there, and it tastes so much better. It's so different from the Coca-Cola that the standard Coca-Cola. And if you can get it at Costco, I don't know if they still have them, but they used to have the glass bottles of Mexican Coke, and I would buy a case every couple of months because I don't drink soda very often. Maybe once every couple of weeks I'll have a glass of soda with dinner or something. But yeah, I'm with you on that. It's the Mexican Coke is definitely like the soda, by the way, in case some bot is listening to this. Okay, not the other stuff. All right, just so we're clear. SPC's got their feet up on the chair. No severe weather forecast for today or tomorrow, at least for now, unless they decide to do something at the last minute tomorrow. And not for here, but not for the Northeast anyway. And no thunder being forecast for Tuesday, and no areas being indicated in their long range. The chairman also hitting super chat, wishing. Well, he's not going yet, Scott. He still has another week to go. Wishing you a safe trip to the bottom of the world. WPC rainfall wise this week. Active in the southern, down in Texas and northeastward into the lower and kind of nosing up into the Ohio Valley there, or 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter, and some heavier amounts right along the Texas coast. Also, some big rains being indicated in the Pacific Northwest, several to many inches again showing up for Washington down into Oregon, but cuts off in Northern California, and the rest of the Southwest is dry. Florida, really not a whole lot, except right along the immediate southeastern coastline of Florida, and also in down East Maine, anywhere from an inch and a half plus, because they're probably going to have at least something of consequence, something of substance from both these cold fronts that are going to be moving through. But snow is not part of this this equation. So let me just run you through a couple of things. First of all, on the teleconnections, which made a big change late last week. Instead of staying negative into the first part of December, you can see that we're actually running almost 2 standard deviations negative as we head toward the end of the month, which is probably that's the reason why with the second cold front late this week, a shot of cold air that's coming in behind that will be a little stronger than the one that's coming in behind the first cold front. But then the teleconnections spike up to the neutral line very, very quickly. Now, I've said oftentimes that when you get these spikes that go from, say, -2 to 0 in a matter of a day or two, there's usually a storm forming somewhere. So this would be around December 2nd. I really haven't seen too much indication of anything on the models, other than maybe some subtle, very subtle hints of something around the first or the second. But I think you really have to even use your imagination for that. And then the NAO goes positive, not by a lot. It's kind of weakly positive, and they actually even start to turn a little bit on the last day, which would probably be around December 3rd or 4th. The PNA, a little different than today. It's been straddling the neutral line. It's going positive this week and through next weekend. And some of the members are going negative, but there are also a few members now that are actually staying either neutral or slightly positive. So that's something to consider. I wrote a long-range piece yesterday, Joe. I was looking at some of the stuff on Friday and Saturday, and I just didn't like what I saw in terms of the polar vortex and a few other things going into December. And then I started to look a little bit deeper on the ensembles, and I said, well, all right, those weren't quite as bearish, but definitely was a bit more of a bearish look to things in the long range for snow lovers if you're looking for some sort of very quick gratification of the approaching winter season. But it seems like we're still in this sort of evolutionary process. By the way, Leon Probitsky hitting super chat. Thank you, Leon. Most appreciated as always. Like the emoji, very, very good, and lots of love. I think that's what it says. LVL. I don't know what LVL means. LVL plus, but whatever it is, I'm sure it's good. All right.
What was it? What was it? LVA?
LVL.
LVL. Oh, okay.
LVL. So anyhow,
well, I just did a Google on LVL, and I got laminated veneer lumber.
I somehow think that's not it. You have to look in the Urban Dictionary to see what the LVL
and
means.
You're not gonna believe this, but I mean, you say to yourself, okay, that's blah blah blah. There's a whole thing of this. There's a whole page on Google of even video, for God's sake, how it's made. Laminated veneer lumber. YouTube, Wood Solutions, ALIS. The peeling of veneer from the log cuts the two shorter edges at a meat tray, coats the top of the surface, compressed to remove air pockets. It's crazy. Yeah. I didn't know that there was so much about LV. So I'm sure that's not what.
Well, it's probably there's probably what was it called again? The laminated veneer.
Laminated veneer lumber.
Oh, well, there's probably a laminated veneer lumber association that, appreciation group or something, just like we have the Cloud Appreciation Association. Anyhow, here's your next cold front for tonight and tomorrow. There's a little shot of cold air that comes in behind it, and that's going to play through later tomorrow, Tuesday into Wednesday. Tuesday probably is going to wind up being the coldest day of the autumn season so far. That cold push actually goes all the way down into South Carolina and Georgia. They're forecasting a low of 20 here Tuesday morning, just so you know. I might get to the teens before you do, Joe. And then that.
Good.
Right. Yeah, that's
You
good.
deserve it, Joe.
Right. Now, if you're asking about, well, where is the blocking? The problem was or is that the blocking that's developed is too far east. It wound up being too far east and too far south. It's about 300 miles south of southern Greenland, and that's a big change from what was being indicated earlier. And that's actually allowing these weather systems to move along to an extent, because anything that's going to get stuck is going to get stuck out at like 60. So we're going to be relatively uneventful. I mean, even the wind is not going to be a big deal here. Yeah, it'll be breezy, and it might get a little gusty along the coast, but I mean, nothing extraordinary here. The high will be overhead on Wednesday, and then then the next cold front approaches, and here it is on the new GFS with a southwest flow. So I think Thanksgiving Day, Joe, it'll be in the 50s. We should probably, I'm thinking we'll have sunshine most of the day. It should be a nice day. And then our front comes through on late Thursday night, Friday, with a shot of rain with it. And then cold air that comes in for Saturday, Sunday. Then there's actually a little reinforcement of colder air on Monday the 29th. And that's where you see this low that's diving southeastward near Sault Ste. Marie, and another coastal low forms way out. Also trying to generate some snows up in Maine. But that's because, again, the blocking is a little bit too far to the east. But that cold's going to persist into the last days of the month of November. And then there looks like there's another low that's dropping southeastward out of Canada. So the type of pattern we seem to be in here is one where we're going to get cold fronts with some regularity, with very, very brief warm-ups in between, and not much else.
I would say the progressive pattern is going to continue into the first half of December, and I absolutely agree with you. And it looks like I'm happy about this. I'm sorry, folks. I know that you want dynamic weather, tempestuous weather, unsettled weather, which may lead to cold and snow. I do not particularly care for that during the couple of weeks that I'm going to be away, because I'm concerned about the house. I have a very long driveway. If we got a heavy snowfall, I'd have to figure out, who's going to come and at least, shovel or plow away a path, so when I come back, I'd be able to get up my driveway or whatever. I really don't want to have any kind of dynamic or terrible weather while I'm away. So that being the case, I'm thinking, Joe, that we may see a slow, underscore that word, a slow warming trend during the first half of December. And as far as precipitation, doesn't seem like there's going to be anything significant or major, aside from, let's say, a few shots of brief showers like what we're going to be seeing here tonight. It seems to me like the first half of December looks fairly. Now, after December 15th, I don't care.
Right.
After December 15th, let the dike open, let the doors flow, and let's have whatever nature has to throw at us. But just for the next couple of weeks, I do not want to see anything. I don't want to be sitting on the ship, and I will be looking back. I'll be looking at things that are happening up here weather-wise. And the last thing I want to tell Renata, for example, is, oh my God, the day we're supposed to come back to JFK. Look at this. Look at this. They got a major storm developing off of Carolinas and heading north. I don't need that, Joe. I don't need that. And I don't need that next week when it's time to leave either.
I hear you. Well, I'm just briefly looking at this 500 and noticing, again, with the blockiness further to the east, these troughs can move along. They sort of amplify when they're near the coast, which is why we're getting at least some cold shots. And then the trough for early this week pulls out. We get a bit of a ridge here for Wednesday and Thursday. Then the next trough dives into the east, and then another one behind it that amplifies that. It actually drops a rather vigorous cutoff from the northern lakes to just off the Jersey coast and Long Island by Monday, Tuesday, the 29th, 30th. And by the way, this would correspond with that, what I was talking about earlier with the teleconnections with the NAO making that big spike up from 2 standard deviations negative to neutral. That something would be, a storm might be forming somewhere. So if you believe this run of the GFS, it'll be something that will be forming off the East Coast, and on this run it sort of impacted northern New England, but doesn't really have much of an impact other than bring a reinforcing shot of cold air to finish off the month. And it looks like there's a couple of more short waves upstream in the longer term, but no, nothing here. Nothing here says big storm coming anytime soon.
Yes, and yes, Tom Contino. Yes, he was talking to John Charles on the chat board, and he says John Charles, Joe Rayo is wish casting. So yes, that's what I'm wishing for, is a calm and highly tranquil, flat type of pattern for the first couple of weeks of December. I know that doesn't hold, well with a lot of you who are, hoping for a front-loaded winter and a front-loaded December and a lot of snow, but that's what I'm hoping for. But I did notice also, Joe, a lot of people talking a few minutes ago about the Yule log,
yeah,
the Pix 11 Yule log in particular, and the guy who helped to select the music for the Yule log and actually has revisions every so often for the Yule log, the music that you see on Channel 11 here in New York, is a friend of mine. His name is Chip Arcieri, and there is actually, and I just sent it to you, Joe, at your email, which you may want to post on the chat board, a link. There is actually a website which is a tribute to the Yule log, Channel 11 Yule log, with the latest information about the songs that are played on the Yule log and some of the history of the Yule log that goes all the way back to the first year in 1966. And it's very interesting, and all of you Yule log fans will I'm sure enjoy and like to look at that.
I just posted the link. So if by the way, if you want to share those Antarctica maps, you can do that now.
Okay, I will do that.
And while you do that, I am going to just step away for just a short time so that I can take another hit of Vicks and get myself a couple of clean tissues. So I will be right back. So just give me a few seconds.
Okay, very good. So let me get to the share screen here, and for all of you who are watching right now, what's appearing on your screen right now is the well, let me move back a ways. This is a website. It's called spotweather.com, and what it does is it gives you, and the GFS, for example, is a global model site. So everywhere on this great Earth of ours, the GFS takes weather into account. And you say to yourself, okay, so if you're doing any traveling, can we use this site? Yes, you can. Now, I'm going to be, let me move this down here, this map, this Mercator map. Here's the Drake Passage right here. And so my ship is going to go from Punta Arenas, Chile, through the Drake Passage. This is probably one of the roughest seas. This is where the Atlantic, Pacific, and Great Southern Ocean, which rims Antarctica, all of these oceans meet right here, and it can be a very, very rough go. In fact, more often than not. The eclipse, the path of the total eclipse of the sun is going to be somewhere out here approximately, and that's where we're going to be. Now, let's say I know the ship is going to be right about here for eclipse day. So I'll just press the button. Boop. See, it's like a bullseye or whatever. So that's where I'm going to be. Now, search for this spot, click on a selection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, and you can see I got all kinds of different choices here. But let's go with the GFS, the 10-day forecast for the GFS here. So I'm pressing on the button. Now it's working. Boom. Look at this. Here is the GFS forecast, Joe and everybody, for latitude 62.34 degrees south, longitude 40 degrees 0.42 west. Now, it's not in the standard way that you would see it, let's say on Tropical Tidbits, but still, pretty much you can read what's going on here. Here, for example, cloud cover, and it shows here that wherever you see a kind of a little dip here, that means that you may actually see some sunshine and clear sky. And I notice here that at least through Friday the 26th, there is, periods or chances here of seeing some clear sky and getting some clear weather. Beyond that, and I think it's because primarily there's so little data available for this part of the world that they simply just go straight with 100% cloud cover, except on Monday the 29th, when for whatever reason they had this little dip here, beep, like that, and then they go back to 100%. Precipitation-wise, not all that much to talk about, but you can see the precipitation probabilities and the amount of precip indicated on this graph here. And temperature-wise, well, let's see, what am I going to experience temperature-wise? Here are the ambient air temperatures in Celsius, and you can see basically it's going to be hovering more or less around 0 or 1 or -1 for the better part of the next 10 days. That gives me an idea of what it's going to be like when we get down to that particular part of Antarctica. We're going to be on an ice floe, actually, in the Weddell Sea. And, I just thought this was very interesting, Joe, because here's wind and air pressure. They talk about west-southwesterly winds at 28 kilometers per hour, gusts at 31, air pressures in millibars. So I'm not going to be without any kind of forecast tools or guidance here. Here's the lifted index. I don't think we're going to be looking at any kind of thunderstorm or convective activity all the way down there, but still nice to know. Cape and helicity values, planetary boundary layer and ventilation, freezing levels. I mean, it's amazing, all this stuff. And again, if you don't want to use it for Antarctica, if you want to just use it for, let's say, your area, someplace in the United States, you can do that too. Again, the site is spotweather.com, and I want to thank Jay Anderson, who has done eclipse weather forecasts for astronomers for many, many years. I wrote to Jay and I said, Jay, what am I going to do? I mean, Antarctica. Do you have any idea? And actually, there are a whole bunch of different sites that he gave me. I haven't had a chance to look at all of them yet, and satellite pictures too. So I will be served well with all kinds of stuff to look at. But I found spotweather.com to be the most interesting in terms of providing me with weather casts or weather model predictions for this faraway place that I'm going to down in Antarctica.
All right, great. All right, I'll make a note of it, so this way I'll have it ready to go while you're away, so we can keep track of your Dramamine adventure.
Yeah.
Is Mrs. Rayo available for a quick Sunday Briller Jeopardy?
I'll have to ask her. If you'll pardon me, I'm going to have to go on the intercom, unless she's already watching.
Right. Ethel to Tilly. Ethel to Tilly. Come in, Tilly. Over.
Hang on. Dear, you're being paged for Briller Jeopardy. Are you available? Oh, I hear somebody coming downstairs.
Please report to the ticket counter in the main lobby. Meanwhile, I have one question for you, and you can wait till she's done to answer it. It's so this is my question. All right. I'm gonna be curious to know what the answer is, whether you know the answer to this or not. But character from a television show, okay, and the character's name was Daisy Mae Moses.
Daisy Mae Moses.
Daisy Mae Moses. That was her. That was her name, but she went by a different name. You would know her as a different name in terms of the character she played. So you think about that, Daisy Mae Moses, and then when we're done with Renata, let me see if you know the answer. You figured out the answer.
Well, the only Daisy Mae that I know is from Little Abner.
Okay, well, I'm just putting it. I stumbled upon this the other day doing a little bit of offsite reading on on some movies and television shows, and I stumbled upon this, and I said I got to ask if Joe Rayo knows who Daisy Mae Moses is. But
All right.
anyhow,
You notice I'm looking off the camera here many times. It's because she is waiting to come on, so
all
I'm going
right,
to hand the headphones to her.
and I'll get the questions up ready to go. So while he's figuring that out, let me get the questions up. Renata, are you ready?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I am.
I must tell you, I am. I'm doing Thanksgiving this year, by the way. So I actually,
Yes.
I've already, I have my turkey's already been defrosting in the fridge. I will be brining it tomorrow into Tuesday. Now, I was going to ask you this. Um, if I brine, I've read a few things that say you shouldn't brine it more than 24 hours. You know, some say you could, so they don't give you a time limit. But if I were to brine, if I brine it Monday, if I start putting it in the brine tomorrow and let it brine into Tuesday, I wanted to have the whole turkey prepped and ready to go in the oven before Thursday morning. So I'm going to make the stuffing on Tuesday, stuff it, and then just let it sit in the fridge until Thursday morning before putting it in. That should be fine. I mean, I think I've done that before with no problem. I don't see what the issue would be. Do you think any issues come to mind?
No, I don't see any, any issues whatsoever. Certainly 24 hours is more than enough. You can even
Okay.
do less.
Okay.
And unless it's a tremendous turkey, but I don't think you're making more than 15 or
It's
18
15. It's
pounds, right?
15 pounds. It's 15 pounds. Okay,
Yeah.
so then that'll be fine.
Yeah, that's more than enough. And if you did that even like closer to Wednesday into Tuesday into Wednesday, perhaps that would be better, but it's fine. What I normally do, yeah, I do brine it a little bit, and I cook my stuffing. I don't make cornbread stuffing, but I cook my stuffing. It's a sausage stuffing like yours
Right.
with lots of onions, and I throw in a finely chopped apple and so forth. And so
Mm-hmm.
I cook my stuffing the evening before, and I stuff the turkey the evening before
Okay.
and wrap it all up and cover it up and put it in the pan and everything and put it right back into the refrigerator so that the next morning everything is done. All I have to do is give it a little bit of a spray and seasoning on the
Gotcha.
outside, and I do cover it up and then put it in the oven, and then in the last hour you take off the cover, and of course intermittently I will baste it too.
Yeah, I'm not worried about raw juices getting absorbed, David. It's going to cook for 3 hours. Whatever it absorbs, it'll from the turkey. It's all going to be cooked. So there's not, I don't think that there's. I really don't think there's an issue there. I'm actually going to be making my own. I'm going to make my cornbread today from scratch, and I'm making my own cornbread croutons. So I'm going to make the cornbread and then let it sit out for until Tuesday or Wednesday, just so that it gets a little on the stalish side.
Yes.
So it's hard enough where I can cut it into
Right.
cubes and go on. Okay, so here's the questions
Right.
for today. 7 out of 10 to pass, and this is according to the Food Network and Good Housekeeping. The top 10 side
Okay.
dishes. The top 10 side dishes for Thanksgiving. And I will tell
Okay.
you which ones I make. But go ahead.
Yeah, I make mashed potatoes is probably everybody's favorite.
Mashed potatoes is the number one. Mashed potatoes is the number one answer. I don't do mashed potatoes. I'm doing a medley that I saw the Barefoot Contessa do yesterday that really caught my eye.
Oh.
I'm going to do a medley of potatoes, fennel, and string beans. And she showed you how to, when you put it in the oven, you put the potatoes and fennel first. You let that cook for a half an hour. Then you add the string beans for 15 minutes, and then when that's done, for about a minute, you put parm cheese on it, Parmigiano Reggiano cheese on it, and you put it back in the oven for a minute. So I saw that, and I thought, you know what? That looks interesting.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna try that. So mashed potatoes
That's
is
different.
mashed potatoes is number excuse me, mashed potatoes is number one.
Hmm. Okay, sweet potatoes.
Sweet potato casserole, and that's number seven. And I'm not doing that.
Yeah. We always have sweet potatoes. Matter of fact, we usually have sweet potato pie. Somebody brings a sweet potato pie, and also like cooked, peeled, cooked, halved sweet potatoes, and I put a little bit of butter on it, maple syrup, and brown sugar. And so you can make the potatoes actually ahead of time, and then
Right.
put that on top in the your casserole dish, and then warm it through
Yeah,
right
I'm not gonna.
before
What
the
I've
dinner
done when
time.
I make the
So
sweet, I'm gonna make sweet potatoes, but I'm gonna make them like baked potatoes. I'm just gonna bake them in the oven,
right,
and then
right,
if anybody wants them, they can cut them open. Put some
right. That's
Amish butter
great.
on it. Some
Oh, we
Amish,
usually just eat them plain.
yeah,
You know, I
Amish
love sweet
sage butter.
potatoes just plain.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. So
yeah,
sweet
yeah.
potatoes
Okay,
is there.
so the potatoes are done. Okay, and something we have done in the past in our family, but and I know it's like a countrywide favorite, but it's not really a favorite of mine. Is that green bean casserole?
Yeah, that's on here, and I don't like it either.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan, but I know other people are. Um, let's see. Of course,
Green bean was six.
probably
Green bean was six.
okay.
Sweet potato casserole seven. Mashed potatoes number one.
And I would say we have a corn cornbread or cornbread casserole. I don't know how to term it. That my sister-in-law makes, which is just fantastic, and we have that every single year on the table.
Okay.
So something, anything along the lines of corn or the cornbread casserole. That's great.
Cornbread's number eight. So you got four of them so far.
Okay, so um, um, I would have to say, just generally vegetables, mixed vegetables, or of any kind. A lot of people have, like you are making, a mixed vegetable, roasted vegetables.
Right.
So I don't know how that would fit on the
Well, there's
list.
one specific vegetable that's number nine on the list, and it's a vegetable that
Mm.
I that I like, but a lot of people don't like because it tends to be, how shall we say, gassy.
Gassy?
Yeah.
Yeah, broccoli probably.
No,
And
not broccoli.
no,
The other
not
one.
broccoli.
The other one.
Cauliflower.
No.
Broccoli, cauliflower, turnips.
No.
No.
You might visit this city in Belgium.
Brussels sprouts, of course.
Okay, Brussels
Yes.
sprouts. Okay.
Roasted Brussels sprouts. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got what's left. Well, one of them we were talking about before we started all of this.
Um, oh, just general green beans. You
No,
mean?
no, no. You put it in the turkey,
What is?
or
Oh,
you,
the
the
stuffing. Oh,
stuffing.
oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I forgot about that
right.
already.
Okay. This one would
Okay,
definitely.
and something that I always make too is my own homemade cranberry sauce.
Cranberry sauce is on there. That's correct. So we just got a couple of them left.
Couple of them
Right.
left. Okay.
So
Um, a lot of people, instead of, because they don't like cranberry sauce, they'll just make their own applesauce or have applesauce on the
no,
table.
that's not on the list.
No, it's not.
No, not on the list.
Okay.
I would say that the one that is on the list that's number three would probably be a big favorite among children generally under the age of 10, and particularly under the age of 5.
Wow. Um, wow. I don't have any clue. Oh, okay. See, we don't do this in my house because I figure stuffing is along that same line.
Right.
Probably like rolls or something like that.
Rolls and muffins are on there, but that's not what I was alluding to. Rolls and muffins
Okay.
are on there. No, this is you might make this for a kid during the week.
Oh, and see, that to me is not Thanksgiving, but I know I've heard
Well,
about it. Okay, it's macaroni and cheese.
right. Now my daughter, I talked to my daughter this morning. I talked to my daughter who's coming up this morning. I'm sorry, she's coming up for Thanksgiving. I talked to her this morning, and she said that she was going to bring a thing of mac and cheese that her friend made, the friend's recipe, so that my grandsons, because they like mac and cheese, so it just makes it'll make life easier. They're not gonna be wanting to eat the turkey or anything else, and they'll see the mac and cheese and they'll enjoy it. So that leaves one thing left on here.
Okay. What am I?
I am not a fan of this, okay, because it's too damn sweet.
It's too darn sweet. Well, we covered sweet potatoes already,
Well, it's
right?
technically sometimes these are sold as sweet potatoes, but they're not. Technically, they're
Oh,
not really
yams?
sweet yams.
Yeah, but yams are the same as sweet potatoes. Well, I know one's yellow, one's orange, but okay, that to me that
Actually,
also is in the same
actually, I don't know if you've
category.
ever had them. I've done. I made they have purple sweet potatoes that are really good. But
No,
they're also
I
they're
don't
more
think I've
they're
seen that.
also they're also much more expensive. Candied
Yeah,
yams. I am not a fan of candied
candied
yams.
yams.
So
Yeah.
So
Now,
mashed potatoes, stuffing, mac and cheese, rolls, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, sweet potato casserole, cornbread, Brussels sprouts, and candied yams. Those are the top 10 according to Good Housekeeping. And by the way, my brine, I am using the brine from a recipe from the Pioneer Woman. I don't know if you've ever
okay.
seen her. Uh,
Oh, definitely. I've
but
seen many of her
I
shows.
mean,
Yes.
it sounds like a nice brine of obviously salt and brown sugar
Brown. I was going to say sugar.
and
Yes.
apple juice with rosemary, sage. She's got a bay leaf in it. I'm substituting, and I'm going to use sage instead. So rosemary, sage, and orange rinds. So I thought that
Okay,
was
that's different.
I thought that was
Yeah,
an interesting
nice
brine. So
twist.
I'm gonna try that, and I'll let you know how it comes out the next time we talk.
Very good. All right. Looking
So,
forward to it.
all right. So
Make sure you take a picture and put it on your Facebook
I will do
page.
that. So you have a happy Thanksgiving, by the way, if I don't speak to you.
Okay.
And let's bring
Yeah.
Mr. Rayo back for a final
Joe?
goodbye.
Okay. Come on in. Okay.
And another
He's listening to the 10 he's listening to the 10-second delay.
and
All right, here he is.
okay, and another super chat hit from the chairman, hitting the super chat tip jar. Thank you very much, Mr. Scott. And Mr. Rayo is see if he can answer that one question that I had.
Go.
Yes.
I've just in time for Briller Jeopardy, Cooking Jeopardy. I've now come across what I believe is going to become the big new wave for Thanksgiving dinner or pre-Thanksgiving dinner. Now, do you know who Fred Mertz, when he was in vaudeville, he had a teammate or a guy he used to work with?
Ted Kurtz.
Okay.
Mertz
so
and
here
Kurtz.
We go. So now I've just discovered what Kurtz is doing. Kurtz is making good old-fashioned
chewing
Jewish
tobacco.
dill pickles.
Pickles? Okay.
Dill pickles. Okay. Now, I have discovered that if you take a good old-fashioned dill pickle and mix it up with, remember that episode in Lucy when she poured the chocolate on top of the
yes.
sardines or whatever?
Yes.
Well, here we go. This is sharp. I should say sharp honey mustard.
Okay.
And now what I'm going to do for you and the viewing audience. What? Well,
You're not supposed to double dip anything, first of all.
Well, on the other end, right here.
Oh,
All right, right here. So we're going to dip. We're dipping it. This is coming to you live, not on tape.
Why would you do that?
I was looking for I was exploring. I mean, this is in the true tradition.
Honey mustard with like crackers and
well, why not with pickles? Why not with pickles? All right, you ready?
Go
ready
ahead.
for this?
Regular mustard I could go for. I'm not a big fan of honey mustard, but regular mustard I could go for with a dill pickle.
This is good. This was good.
Good.
And I urge all of you to try this before you dig into the turkey next Thursday. To try this pickles and sharp honey mustard. It's great. It's great. And you may remember on Seinfeld, Newman did not like to eat broccoli, and he was trying to, feign the fact that he liked broccoli when he hated it. When he took one bite of the broccoli, he screamed. He was in a Kenny Rogers restaurant. He said, "Honey mustard, quick! Honey mustard!" He downed a whole thing of honey mustard to kill the taste.
Oh God, broccoli doesn't really taste like anything. I don't know what unless you have broccoli de rob. That's a whole different animal. All right.
Again, I urge all of you to do that.
Have you figured out who Daisy Mae Moses?
I have to tell you, Joe, quite honestly, I didn't know who Daisy Mae Moses was. Out of curiosity, I went upstairs on our laptop, looked it up, found out who it was, and now I will allow you to reveal it to the rest of the viewing audience. All right, Jed.
Right, Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah, I don't ever. Not that I've probably seen every episode over, from when I was a kid and everything else. I don't, I don't remember. Maybe only a handful. I never recall them ever mentioning that her name actually being mentioned in an episode. Maybe it was on one of the early ones. But Daisy Mae Moses is Granny, played by Irene Ryan, who, by the way, was the father. Her character was the father-in-law of Jed Clampett, and Buddy Ebsen was only about 4 years younger than Irene Ryan. So anyhow. I
saw Irene Ryan playing the role of some frontier woman on an episode of Wagon Train, which is on MeTV.
Yeah.
And so I said, at first I recognized the voice. I said, "Who is that?" And I didn't recognize the fact that she had the hair slicked back like Granny or whatever. She like a real person or whatever. I said, "That's Irene Ryan." And
B. Benaderet was supposed to get the role of Granny until Irene Ryan auditioned for it. And, when she auditioned for it, they said, "That's our Granny." And when they showed the audition play to B. Benaderet, she agreed. She said, "That's Granny."
Right.
So she wound up playing Jethro's mother,
Pearl Bodine.
Pearl Bodine. Correct. And then she went on to Petticoat Junction until she sadly passed away in the middle of that series. Right. All right. Anyway, I have to take. My dog, but usually goes to the dog park in the morning at around 8:30, and he has patiently waited till noon. He's laying down to sleep on the bed. And I'm thinking he's going to have to go to do number 2, so I better get him out of here. Thanks everybody for being here. We're going to have this week. We're on through Wednesday. Joe and I are going to take Thanksgiving Day off, and then we'll see what happens if we come back. Maybe Friday or next Sunday if you're still able to do the show before you leave on your trip. I have to go get a COVID test done too this afternoon, so that's on my to-do list. And we'll see everybody tomorrow. Thanks for those of you who hit the Super Chat tip jar today. Most appreciated as always. And we'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.